What is up, people? My name is Madeline Paquette. I am the host and co-founder of winefolly.com, where we learn by drinking. We have an exciting program for you today. Well, today's topic is wine etiquette. What the heck? I was never, by the way, my grandmother sent me a Tiffany's Table Managers for Teenagers as a pretty late age teen, mind you, because I was not an etiquette master. In fact, I still struggle with this. So I wanted to give you some really pragmatic tips for how to get around this topic comfortably in front of other people. And then today's tasting. This is something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. And we all know, everybody talks about Barolo. Oh, the Barolo, one of the best wines of Italy. It's so delicious. It's from Piemonte. It's made with the Nebbiolo grape. I happen to have a really awesome bottle of Barolo right here. Courtesy, thank you, Riserva Wines, for sending this to us. 2010 vintage, which is really hard to get. Cost is over $100, some places over $500 and other places, so this is a fancy wine. And on the other hand, I have this little Roero Riserva, 20 plus something dollar bottle of wine. Roero is a neighboring region to Barolo that also produces Nebbiolo wines, and their Riserva is aged an extra long time. And so we're going to do a straight up to face-to-face comparison of a fancy Barolo wine with a pretty decent bottle of Nebbiolo from Roero. Let's see how they perform. But before we get into that, let's talk etiquette, my grandmother's favorite topic. So the big thing about etiquette, the way that I look at it as a non-etiquette person, is that when seen by other people, everybody judges a book by its cover. Thank God the Wine Folly book has a good cover. But what do you do in a situation where you're in front of people and you have to drink wine, order wine, do things with wine? You basically don't want to look like an idiot, a complete idiot, and you don't want to offend people around you. And that's what etiquette is all about. Don't be gross. That's the whole thing. So if you can just take the one idea of don't be gross, you're doing awesome. Okay, so a couple of things. I want to do a little solid and give you a little bit above and beyond don't be gross. When it's with wine, when you're holding a glass of wine, if there's one thing you learn how to do and learn how to do it well, if you can do it ambidextrous, if anyone can swirl ambidextrously, I'm so impressed with you. That is a super challenge. So take your glass of wine, and I'm going to totally move the entire table, and take your two fingers like this, grab the glass at the bottom, like right at the base, and then put it down on the table and draw little circles on the table. That, my friend, this is swirling, and if you really want to appreciate wine, this is all you have to do. And I don't care if you swirl your rosé, your white wine, your sparkling wine, you can swirl everything, baby. And like I said, if you're ambidextrous, you get both going at the same time. The funny thing about swirling is it looks awesome. You look like a baller. If you can swirl while holding your glass, this is a little more challenging. This is like level 2, swirl holding. Try not to look at it. This is the next challenge for you. All right. So the thing about swirling that makes it beyond just good etiquette and make you look like a baller, it actually releases the little aroma compounds into the bell of the glass so that when you sniff it, they are more intense and you can smell more flavors. My God, these wines are both super aromatic. I'm stinking up the whole room with these two wines. Go Nebbiolo. All right, so that's item number 1. Learn it, have fun with it, try it out at a bar. You're awesome. And another etiquette tip, at a wine tasting. This one helped me, it will help you too. When tasting wine, we've all been there. You can get a little sloshy, it can happen, especially if you're not spitting. And this is one of the reasons why I spit a lot at wine tastings, is because, you know, it's in front of a bunch of people. Do I really want to be like, I love you, man? I mean, That is exactly what I'm like, but I'm not drunk when I'm doing it. I swear to you. I'm not. When you see me at a tasting, I'm just that way normally. All right.
It's true, folks. It's really, really true.
So when you're tasting wine at a wine tasting, we have this tendency to like not really care where on the glass. Like there's no, like with a coffee mug, you have like this mug thing and you sip on one side of it because the handle's right there, right? You could be left-handed, you sip on that side, whatever it is. But with a wine glass, there's no front or back. Do yourself a favor, pick a side and stick to it. Get your lips on one side, slobber all over it, just the one side, and that's your spot. Try not to get your mouth marks all over it. You're going to start smelling the inside of your mouth when you're trying to taste wine, and it sucks, man. It seriously sucks. So that's my wine etiquette number 2. Other than that, always smell before you taste, and think about what you're tasting. And that's honestly the biggest respect you can give to wine, and I don't really think there's a whole lot more than that. We'll get into a little bit more of the details on ordering from a restaurant and that later, but I thought I would just jump in and dive in and do this comparison before these wines heat up because we got hot lights in the room. Okay, which should I taste first? The Barolo or the Roero? Do 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 do.
People are being a little bit gun shy. You know what? I think the Barolo.
Okay.
Because that's what I want to try.
So we want to know what the $100+ bottle of Barolo tastes like. All right. So this sucker clocks in about 14.5% alcohol. Let's give this a profile. It's from the Briccolina Vineyard in Barolo, Briccolina area. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the taste profile. It's very bold. Smells like sweet raspberry sauce. Licorice, like more like licorice sauce than like, ooh, just a little piece of licorice. Like just a whole bucket of licorice sauce. And then the most faint, I get a little bit of a floral component, but I'm telling you, this baby is like robust licorice and raspberries. It's like a panda, you know those black panda candies? It's like that. It's like somebody took a whole bunch of them and they melted them. All right. Oh man, it is like seriously a super aromatic wine. All right, on the palate. And this is what I love about Barolo, because most of the time it smells so pretty, red fruits, flowers, little licorice, and then you taste it and it does this, oh my God, to your mouth. It is so massive, yet elegant at the same time. It usually has super intense tannins, but I'm going to tell you, this wine is not. Sometimes the tannins are so big, they like make your entire mouth dry out. But this wine, tannins are in control. I'm tasting in control. This is 2010 vintage. It's been aging for about 7 years. I get a little bit on the front, lots of massive fruit, lots of like cherries, raspberries. It's all pretty fruit, a little more on the tart end, but not super high acidity. Like little, you know, there's enough acidity in there, but this is a much more chill. For Barolo, this is pretty chill. It's bold, it's fruity, it's lush. It's got the high alcohol. I can feel it in the back of my throat. It's like warming up the inside of my body. This is a good wine. Ready to drink now. This is faux show. If you've got a bottle of Rivetto 2010 Briccolina in your cellar, I'm super jealous of you, A, and B, maybe you should drink it this holiday. It's totally ready to go. All right, next wine, Roero. This is a 2013 vintage. It's a Riserva, so it's aged a little bit longer than their base model. Color is darker than this. The interesting thing, the difference between the two, the color of this Roero to me looks a lot darker and a lot less ruddy in the color, so less orangey tones, more garnet, reddy, ruby tones, although still garnet in the hue spectrum. On the nose, this is a little bit reductive, so they've used in the winemaking process, there's a lack of oxygen at bottling, so it can develop some more sulfur compounds for a little while before you aerate the wines, which I did not do. I'm so sorry. So I'm smelling beyond the reductiveness because it's starting to blow off. I'm getting, it's more subtle in the flavour. It's a lot of reduction. Hold on. Come on, son. Another reason we like to store all. Reduction. Get those large sulfur compounds removed, man. Alright, now it's starting to smell like wine. Okay, so to me, more black cherry. Right off the bat, it's less of that licorice note in this particular wine, more of that sort of rich black cherry. If I was going to pick a licorice type flavor, I'd pick more anise, so it's more herbaceous, sort of licorice-like tone.
I can smell that from here, actually. I get that fennel.
Yeah, it's fennel. Man, good call. Yeah, fennel, anise. And there's a leathery quality to it, too, almost like a fresh saddle leather.
It really smells like an Italian barnyard in here, you know?
It's totally, this is an Italian, we're hanging out in the Italian barnyard right now. All right, so let's give this a taste. Wow, that's surprising wine. Okay, more tannin right up front. The fruit profile is not quite as sweet as our Barolo over here. Still, tons of cherries. Not so much of that raspberry notes that I was getting from the first wine, more of that cherry profile. Slightly more herbaceousness, but actually still warming the inside of my body with the alcohol level. It says it's 13.5. I think they're lying. I think this is higher than that. Or I'm getting drunk off of fumes over here. I don't know. For the price, this is kind of obscene. This is kind of ridiculous. More fruit definitely in the Barolo, but homeboy Roero over here, it's like putting up the Rocky fight. Like he's gonna make it no matter what, or die trying. This is amazing. So if you're trying to find a wine, a good Nebbiolo wine, for a fraction of the cost of Barolo, I would recommend checking out Roero. It's totally worthy. It stands the test. Yeah, okay, it's not Bricklina Barolo. I get that. Each one is unique and different. It has its own idiosyncrasies. And we have a bunch of producers over here. Here's another one that I had that was really good by Nebbiolo. It's another Riserva. This dog, Negro, another good producer, a little higher alcohol, or at least they're admitting to it. And another one, finally, Roero. Check it out. Look it up. Try to find some. Give it a try. For the price, you're gonna be like me. You're gonna be like, well, that's like daily drinker. That's like daily drinker prices. I saw some of these wines for like $23 a bottle, and okay, that's for some people that might be on the higher side of things, but that's for high quality, delicious Nebbiolo. It doesn't get much better than that. All right, I love you, Rivetto. You're still delicious. Thank you so much, Pinto, for getting these wines to us. All right, real wine Q&A today, and the topic was wine etiquette. So shoot.
This is a good question we got from Matt S. right here. When someone is super excited about a wine that they either spent a lot of money on or have been waiting a long time for, but it turned out wrong, do you stay excited for them once you realize that, or tell them their bottle is ruined?
Oh, never tell somebody that their bottle's ruined. That is like wine expert 101. First of all, there's a chance that they invited you over because they're like, dude, I've been saving this wine for years and I'm super excited about it. And they might not know as much about wine, so they're looking for validation from you. So the most deflating thing you can do is to be like, dude, your wine sucks, I hate it. What I like to do in this situation, even if it's a bad bottle, I try to focus in on the things that are good about it. Oh, you bought a Napa Valley wine. Wow, that's a very fancy region. Or, you know, in the case of they've been sitting it on their fridge for 5-6 months, and it's gotten, or maybe 5 years, and it's gotten completely oxidized and terrible. I try to be like, focus on what of it was good? Oh, well, this, I can clearly tell, had greatness in it, as you know, and this is my buddy. I want to help them become better at wine. So I might actually make it an opportunity to be like, how are you storing your wines? Let me help you, because you got some good taste and I want you to keep your babies well. All right, so that's what I would do in that situation. If it's somebody I didn't know too much, I would just shut my mouth, smile, nod, and if I had to, slowly back away.
All right. Another question for you about etiquette. Exotic Wine Travel on Facebook asks, how many times have you sent back a non-faulty wine in a restaurant?
Matthew, Horkney, Shireen, what are you guys doing? All right, so this is the secret. Let's say you get a wine that's not actually corked, but it sucks. What do? Well, I usually do a lot of negotiation. If I'm really not sure about a wine, I set the premise up beforehand. Well, I haven't had this wine before, and you know, the way you're describing it to me, it sounds real good, but I'm still uncertain. I've even had a sommelier be like, you know what? If you don't like it, I'm gonna buy it for myself. I don't even care. And they'll do that. People who are great salespeople are so into their wines, they're not even salespeople. They're sold on it to themselves, and they're willing to do the right thing in that situation. So there was one situation where I did send a wine back, and it wasn't faulty. It was just not described to me right, and turns out it was on the glass pour list, so I knew they could just throw it down one of their glass pours and get rid of it that way. So I have totally done that. That has happened to me.
Okay. Another question from our friend MacGyver D. Any notable different etiquettes between cultures, between American or French or Italian culture?
Yeah. It's all about how you hug and kiss people. You know, in certain cultures, you want to kiss both sides of their face. In other cultures, you don't even kiss their face. You just make a kissing sound towards their, like, ears. Or you only kiss the one side. So I'd really pay attention to touching when you're in another culture, because that is like, that's the important thing. After that, no, not especially. Not especially.
Does it ever get a little bit dangerous after a few glasses of wine? You know, all that etiquette?
All that kissing? You know, yeah. After a few glasses of wine, this is the amazing thing about wine. And when you go to travel to other cultures, we all get a little bit tipsy, just a little bit, enough to really appreciate and enjoy the other person. So I welcome a glass, sharing a glass with anyone from anywhere. I'm sure we can find a common ground.
Another good question from Del A. A server in a restaurant is about to open a bottle of sparkling wine in a way that's probably going to make a mess.
Oh, yeah.
Would you intervene?
Oh, you know, here's what I do. They're going to do that no matter what, and you can't change them or save them. And it literally makes my heart, I just get so scared for everyone around me. So what I usually do is if I think that the wine is going to explode and hurt someone, I'll be like, could you please do that over there? Like, I'll tell them where to, or to point that at the wall or something like that. That's the only thing you can do. You can't help them, you shouldn't intervene, but you could maybe point them in the right direction. And when it does explode, because it will, you'll be happy and they'll be happy.
All right, last one. It's not etiquette related, but I am really curious about this myself. Dr. Frankenwine on Instagram asks, tasted a Sauvignon Gris, which I'd never heard of. Are you familiar with this? Tasted like Sauvignon Blanc on a leash, a clone of SP?
Oh, what a wacky thing. Okay, so here's the big secret. If you've had Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris, and Pinot Blanc, turns out genetically they're identical. Well, they're basically variants of the same grape. So Pinot Gris, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Blanc are all the Pinot variety. And the funny thing is, Sauvignon Blanc's got some variants too. There's Sauvignon Blanc, Sauvignon Vert, aka Friulano. What's up, Friulano? Okay, end story. And then Sauvignon Gris. It is sort of a pinkish variant of Sauvignon Blanc. What it has, let's compare it to Pinot Blanc and Pinot Gris. It's got more of an oily body texture on the palate. It tends to deliver more tropical fruit flavors, and it tends to be used in more structured Sauvignon Blanc wines. So in Bordeaux And in Napa, they'll often use a higher proportion of Sauvignon Gris and blend it with Sauvignon Blanc and maybe some Semillon to make a oaked white wine that's quite delicious. As a single varietal wine that's unoaked, it tends to be a little bit less of what we love about Sauvignon Blanc. So it doesn't have all those massive herbaceous notes. It doesn't taste like passion fruit from a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So it can be prepared in that fashion a little bit more restrained. But if you blend it and put a little bit of oak on it, boy, does that grape perform. What a find, dude. What a find. All right, so I would say, do we have any more questions?
We do have one good one. It's a good Somm question.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to hear your opinion on. For last Somm on Instagram asked, my friend works as a Somm in the French restaurant, and he wants to know, how do you stock Barolo? They don't have it in their restaurant. How would you recommend approaching it, filling up a cellar with that at a restaurant?
At a French restaurant. Mm-hmm. How would you stock Barolo in a French restaurant? Well, I would take a good hard look at the menu, because you got to convince your manager that for some reason you need to have the super fancy Italian wine on your French wine list. So I would look carefully at the menu, and the interesting thing about Piemonte and that entire region, Touraine, all that around there, is they tend to be much more northern in their food styles. So a lot more cream, butter, a lot like French food, and pairs really well with French food. So you could make an argument that, hey, the House of Savoy back in the day kind of ruled that whole zone. We could totally throw this on the list logically, fundamentally, and make great pairings with our food. I would maybe throw it on the list more in the wintertime, if you can, because you're going to get some people who want to spend the big bucks, and you'll get some successes early on in the season, and it'll help validate that decision. And I would, if I were you, find a Barolo at a price point that is compelling, if you can. All right, so I think that concludes our today. I wonder if we have any thoughts, ask any questions you want to me, get me anytime, and if you like what we're doing at Wine Folly, the biggest thing you can do to help us out is to subscribe at winefolly.com. It's winefolly.com/subscribe, and you'll get a weekly rundown of what's happening on the blog. This week we talked about whatever happened to wine coolers, and there's also an awesome list of fall wines to check out for right now, this time of year, that go well with harvest foods. So that's the nicest thing you could do to us, and we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining in on Wine Folly Live. Peace out. And